Hey, everybody. Guess what? It's that time again. Synoria's Best Kept Secret podcast. Today I have with me Miss ShantaQuilette. Is that DeVelle?
DeVelle, that is correct.
DeVelle, yes, ma'am. Well, I'm happy to have you. I'm ready to get into this conversation. I love your energy. I want the crowd to just, kind of pick up on all of that. Yes. We love watching your videos. And I just want to give a little backstory because I follow you on Instagram and also Facebook. And I finally got to meet you. We met each other at Essence Fest last year, 2024. So now it's like kind of like a full circle moment. We're able to connect and collaborate. So I'm excited. How about you?
I am excited. I am excited. It's been a long time coming. I know we've been trying to set this up for some time. And I'm excited that I'm here today to share my heart and love and joy with you and your audience.
Yeah, so I definitely appreciate it. Well, like I like to say, let's get into it.
Okay.
Just to kind of touch into some things, let's go back to Essence Fest. Are you planning on attending this year?
It is my goal to play. It is my goal to attend Essence Festival. I have been attending Essence Festival since I think about 2013, consecutively, except for the pandemic when they weren't open and operating. But I've always found great joy with either my girlfriends. My husband went with me last year for the first time, and my daughters, a couple of years back, went with me 2 years in a row. So that was a great joy. And then also the year that I had my stroke, I actually went to the Essence Festival with my friends with my walker. And didn't want to miss it for the world. You know what they say. The old people say you're scared you're gonna miss something, and that's where I was at.
Exactly. And it's just a vibe, right? The energy, being able to be
Energy,
surrounded by, all of those talented people and
powerful.
yes, powerful and, inspiring. So, of course, I definitely understand being able to just, pick yourself up from all of that excitement and that energy. And I'm
Yeah,
glad
yeah,
that you're, doing well.
yeah.
You've had a transition, a transformation. Kind of
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about that and take us through that process.
I call it a reinvention, honey. It was a reinvention. Sometimes you have to die a few times to get to your true self and to be in a place where you can be your most authentic self. And so back in 2019, well, let's say back in 2017, where I had my first mini stroke, and then that was followed by a heart attack, then followed by the big stroke, which left me incapacitated for about 2 years. At that time, I was on top of life. I considered myself on top of life. I was at my good government job working. Had plans to retire from the government. The government doesn't sound it doesn't sound so good in these days, but everybody's like, everybody wants their good government job,
Right.
and that wasn't God's plan for me.
Right.
I was just happened to be at work one day, after doctors had released me, and told me everything was good. Went to work bright and early. I happened to be doing working on a taxpayer seizure that day, because I did work for the IRS. Happy, lucky, wonderful, the land of Oz. And I always try to attribute that to the taxpayer who I was working on. I don't know what he prayed that day, but whatever he prayed, it worked. And I didn't go back to work. I didn't go back to work. And so I was heartbroken. I was devastated, when you see your life going some way, one way, and it stops dramatically, and sometimes people pick up the pieces, but at that point in time I did not know how to pick up the pieces.
Right.
I just felt like I was starting over, but without a place to go, if that makes sense.
I would definitely make sense. I understand you didn't have a game plan.
I did it.
It wasn't a map. I definitely understand. And you
Yeah.
just had to go where God led you.
Yeah, you can't plan for it, I went to work, like I said, fabulous, coils coiling in my red suit, and that was my last day, the last day that I actually worked in that office. And I fought hard to keep my job. I fought hard. I was what I say, snatching the pen out of God's hands while he was writing, and trying to do things my own way and leaning on my own understanding. And I found that that did not work out for me. And so one thing God can do is he will sit you down quickly
All the way. Yes.
all the way down.
Mhm.
And then and also your body. When you don't listen to your body will also shut you down. I was going back and forth to doctors. I was misdiagnosed for about 8 years, had an underlying heart condition, which um, was increased by stress and everything else that I was doing. Life was just lifing, and I kept on moving until my heart and my brain said it could do it could do no more.
Wow, yes. That's very powerful that you're saying, that it kind of, it stopped you in your tracks. Like you said, you kind of wanted to go one way and God was like, "Oh, no, 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 we going this way." So, once you finally, settled into that, set into that moment, what was it that made you, or what did you decide to do next?
Listen, sit still, listen, and be quiet, and really operate in a space of quietness
Okay.
to really understand what was going on in my life, and really to listen to God and hone in to what he was actually saying to me.
Mhm.
Because I was halfway listening at the time. I was, like I said, I was so angry and so distraught with what was going on that I was giving so much credit to the enemy, I was discrediting God. And I found myself in a place of what they say, self-destruction,
Mm,
because I was chasing something that no longer exists. I was chasing a part of me that was gone. And that's why, and sometimes you have to die several times to get to the place that you want to be in life. And that was the reinvention of me. That was the masterpiece that God was creating. And once I was able to understand that and lean into that, I was able to walk comfortably into my purpose.
Look, amen. Today isn't even Sunday, but I feel like I'm in a service. Yes, ma'am, you preaching. Yes. And there's nothing wrong with that. Let me ask you this because I know, we see you all the time, very jovial. You're doing your different little skits and clips. And I know mostly I see them with your son. How did that tie into, your family dynamic? You're a wife, you're a mother, you're also an entrepreneur, a doctor. How did that tie into everything else that you had going on?
It stopped. It stopped. Like I said, I was at a point where I couldn't take care of myself, so my family became my caregiver. And it's really hard. You'd have to actually experience it yourself to understand what it is to lose your independence. And
Mm,
as I was losing my independence, everybody in my household was losing their independence, right? Because my husband was a husband, but now he's become the husband, and now he's the housekeeper, and now he's taking care of me, and he's got to take care of the children. That the children are also trying to step in and help where they can do where I couldn't help, where I couldn't. And so it was devastating for everyone. But it was the best way God could bring all of us together.
mm,
It was, no child should have to experience that, you
right,
know. And my son was the youngest, and so he was coming straight out of middle school when I had my stroke. And so he had this extra burden that was put up on him. He's trying to be a child, but now he's having to worry about if his mama is going to be around. And
right.
even myself, am I going to be around for my children's graduations and their weddings and to see them have grandchildren? So, um, when you face your own mortality, it pulls you up by the lapels and you see things differently. And so it made us want to be closer. It made us want to do more things. It made me want to love harder. And it made me want to live out loud and teach other people how to do that.
Yes. Well, tell me a little bit about your health initiative because you go, to multiple panels and different podcasts and interviews and you discuss your initiatives. What is it that we need to know about, I guess, prevention or getting on the right track? What is some things that you're able to suggest at this time?
Yeah, absolutely. It's always prevention over treatment. Cardiovascular disease is the number one killer of women in the United States. And a lot of the things that we go through when it comes to our health can be prevented. And a lot of times we overlook those things. We are too busy putting everything else in front of ourselves but ourselves. Like I say so many times, we will spend money on our shoes, we'll spend money on our hair, but we will complain about the copay that we have to pay to
Mm,
the doctor to make sure that we are intact to be able to do those things. And I want women to know and have that realization that if you don't take care of you, you can't take care of anybody. And you only get one of you. You only get one of you. You don't get all these different chances. I was lucky. I was lucky. And so I'm using my testimony to make sure um that cardiovascular disease is a livable disease, that you don't have to have a death sentence, and that you know the signs of a heart attack, and you know the signs of a stroke, and that you listen to your body, and that you're eating right and you're exercising and you're not overworking. We hear all these commercialized notions of what a superwoman is, and everybody wants to be a boss, and you don't get any special gold points with your health by saying that you're a boss. You don't get any gold medals by saying you're a superwoman. I mean, the least you could do is be able to fly and have X-ray vision, and if you don't have that, you're not superwoman, right? You really need to take care of yourself, um so you can be here for the long run. Everybody wants that 100-year-old heart. I know, at least I do, child.
right, right, right.
I'm like Jiminy Cricket. I want to live to
Exactly.
be 102.
Exactly. Exactly. We want to be here as long as we can and enjoy the moments that we can, especially for ourselves and our loved ones. Let me also ask you because, May is the month of mental health. Does any of this tie into mental health or is it strictly just physical or emotional? Like, what does that
It
tie?
does actually tie into mental health. That's what I use laughter for. That's what I use to help me meditate, help me relieve stress, help me to stay in tune with my mind, body, and overall self. I think laughter is great when it comes to mental wellness. It actually, I say, is the best unpaid vacation that you can have.
Right,
Is being able to laugh and be able to just step away from reality for a moment, and so. Yeah, it's really important. I think emotional health, spiritual health, physical and mental health all tie in together.
right.
And if one is not working, they normally kind of fall off together.
Together. That's correct. That is correct. Now, let's get into, a more upbeat portion of the conversation because, like you said, laughter is good for the soul, and you definitely keep us laughing and keep us going. We see the interactions between you and, like I said, your son is who I see most of the time. What made that come about? Did anything from your health issues make these skits come about?
Absolutely. I was here at home with my children during the pandemic. They were at home. I was in physical, occupational speech therapy about 3 to 4 times a week, 3 to 4 hours a day. And it was very debilitating. It was very stressful. And nobody wants to be around the W downer, right? So,
Right.
I was, walking around sad and pouting and mad at the world. And so my children one day while I was sitting, I was just in my bedroom laying in the bed and they were like, "Hey, you want to do a tic-tac, a tic-tac, a tic-tac?" And I was like, "Okay, what's that?" And me and my husband started doing some different voiceovers and different games they were doing at the time on TikTok. And we really enjoyed it. And so me and my husband started doing the videos together. And then I got to the point where I'm like, hey, download this on my phone, and I just became a watcher. And as I was watching, I became really inspired. And I've always been someone who has wanted to be in entertainment in some way, whether I was going to be a writer or a director or actor. I wanted to do that in some form of in another. And I started making the videos. I
Right.
started making the videos, and at first I did not have a clue what I was doing. I was on there cooking, I was sharing stuff about my nonprofit. And then I came home one day. Well, let me just backtrack. I started doing these videos called Married but Not Blind. And so there were like good looking men that were, dancing and doing all these things. And I was doing duets. And I was always pretending that I wasn't looking, but I was looking. And I did not like the intention that it was bringing to my page. I had these barbaric, hungry women that were coming and they were like, just, oh my God. I was like, this is definitely not what I
What
want to
was
be
your
part of.
intention?
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is not my intention and what I want to be part of. And so I changed that, and me and my son would do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. My daughter, she would come in and I would listen to old school music and do voiceovers. And then one day I came home from my therapy and I was having a really bad day. I was having a really bad day. I didn't like the way I looked. I didn't like the way I felt. I did not like who I was in that moment. And one thing my girlfriends always say is that you, girl, you are so funny. You are hilarious. You need to get on TV. Somebody needs to see you on TV and you need to tell those funny stories on TikTok that you be telling us. And I'm like, I don't know. But I did. I did, and it allowed me to build the platform that I have today. I did a video called "Me Without My Wig." It was prefaced, "Have you seen my daughter?" And I woke up in the morning with millions of views, millions of shares. Um,
Overnight. Just
I mean, over like this was overnight. This was
wow.
overnight. Celebrities sharing, reaching out. It was amazing. It was surreal. And I did not know anything about virality. I didn't know anything about virality. I didn't know anything about monetization. I didn't know any of that. But I knew that God knew the desires of my heart and what I wanted to do with my voice. And one of the biggest things is I've always wanted to do is impact women. I have a nonprofit called the Pink Peppermint Project that provides services to metastatic breast cancer patients and their caregivers. And so it has always been something that I wanted to do to uplift women, to empower them, especially when it comes to health and wellness.
Yes. Okay. Well, and that's crazy, right? Because you said that your friends kind of, were like, you need to get on here and do this. Well, first your kids introduced you, but then
Yeah.
the fact that they were able to say, look, you need to get on here and do these different things, and then it just took off because that's what we all hope, right? That we'll just put something up and then it just takes off overnight, and that's not always the case for a
Yeah.
lot of people.
Yeah, and being able to manifest those things too, because I actually wrote um a couple of days before I went viral. It might have been like a week or so before I made that viral video. I actually posted on Facebook that God make my voice known to the world so I can empower women. And
Wow.
so and not even just realizing what I had wrote and how that moment changed my life, that statement changed my life. And I was thinking, okay, how is this comedic video going to change someone's life when it comes to health and wellness. Like, you want to make sure, everybody talks about you got to niche down and you got
Right.
to do this and you got to do that. And it did not seem like it was in alignment to what I thought I wanted to do.
Right.
But in actuality, God was setting it up.
Setting it all up, lining it all up for you. Wow, God's plan.
God's plan always.
Yes. Well, let's talk a little bit about your foundation. You just mentioned it briefly. Tell us a little bit more about that and the support that you're providing to others.
Yeah, it's my organization is called the Pink Peppermint Project. It started it back in 2017. It was also birthed out of pain. I lost my aunt and two of my girlfriends at the time to metastatic breast cancer. Stacy and my aunt died 3 days apart. And then about 6 months later, my other friend passed away. And my friend Shamika, who was actually metastatic at the time, she would just call me and talk about all the things that she was going through related to breast cancer and all the things that she found that was missing. Um, in other organizations. And so she didn't want to always talk about, chemotherapy. She didn't always want to talk about her treatment plan and where she currently was. She just wanted to feel beautiful and she wanted
Right.
to look beautiful and she wanted love and she wanted to feel loved. And so one day I sent her a care package and she was just elated. She was just so excited. And she was like, "Oh my God, my other pink sisters, they would love this." I'm like, "Girl, I'm trying to do this for you. I ain't trying to do this for nobody else. This gift was for you. What did you talk about? Do it for everybody else. This is for you." And later on, a couple of years later, Shamika passed away of metastatic breast cancer. And
Okay.
I wanted to create something. It birthed something in me, and I wanted to change the the trajectory of how uh a cancer organization looked like for women. It didn't always have to be a bunch of medical
Mm,
channels and things like that. I wanted it to be about fun. I
right.
wanted it to be about empowerment and rejuvenation. If you just had one day to restore, our event that I created called GlamCon, stands for Glamorous Conqueror, would be the place where you could get all of that and you could find your joy and you didn't have to shed the extra layers off telling someone about your cancer journey because the woman next to you already knows your journey.
Exactly.
And so we started GlamCon in 2017 and we serviced, I mean, hundreds and hundreds of women, and we've sent out thousands of care packages through our Meant with Love program. Unfortunately, due to the pandemic, we stopped doing GlamCon just because we wanted to make sure that we put the health of the women first.
Oh, yeah.
So we definitely didn't want to have events with you actually couldn't have events. But then, a few years after, the pandemic, you still had COVID and hospitals weren't, doing events. So we weren't doing events. And so we scaled back
Right.
and now we are just sending out care packages. We have a big contract with our partnership with Thrive Cosmetics, who actually send us all our products
Oh,
that we actually
yeah.
could put in our care packages for women. And yeah, and we've been doing, like I said, we've been doing that since 2017.
Well, congrats on that. And I love that. I think that is amazing that you're able to inspire and, just give hope as well as beautify. Because, like you said, who doesn't want to feel their best, even when they're going through the hardest of times? So that's
Right.
definitely appreciated, I'm sure. And we all know someone or maybe, friend, family, or friend of that has gone through cancer or some type of that cancer is just crazy. It runs through a lot of uh, families and people, and doesn't matter. It doesn't discriminate basically.
At
I
all.
actually just also lost a very close friend of the family last month to
All right.
cancer as well. So it's just like Oh my God, yes. The fact that you're able to just give some type of hope, some type of motivation, some type of love, yeah, that's greatly appreciated. So, yes,
Thank you.
thank you for that and sharing that.
You're welcome.
I do want to ask you also because, we spoke a little bit before. Like you said, we've been trying to get this thing cemented for a while. You were filming some time ago. Tell us a little bit about that, or are you able to tell us a little bit about the filming and the production that you were a part of?
I can tell you a teeny bitty bit
Okay,
about it.
just a little bit.
But yeah, so I was working with Bristol Myers Squibb on a documentary on the patient's experience, and so they came in my home and did a documentary on my life and my journey with heart disease.
Okay, okay. Yes, okay. Look, you said a little titty bit,
I
so
believe in it.
and you can't give out too. So,
Yeah.
and I think that's also going to be another facet or piece of you that you're sharing or enlightening into the world that will definitely inspire and help others because, you know, like you said, heart disease, breast cancer, these are a lot of things that not only women, but a lot of times women of color are dealing with. And we don't necessarily get the support or the education or information that we need. So the fact that you're able to do so, again, kudos to you.
Thank
Yes,
you.
you're welcome. Yes. So I do want to talk about now. I know we touched about a little bit earlier about your son and him interacting and doing the different videos and things with you when you're doing your TikToks and your Instagram posts. But something I didn't know, and I don't know if others know, you said that you are a mother of how
So we have a blended family of seven,
many?
and that is six girls and one boy. And I have, out of those seven, three of them I birthed.
Yes, 'cause I did not listen. I don't know if others know that, but I was surprised. I'm like, wait, what? I only know of, and I guess that's the one. Your son was the one that was
Yes,
coming out of middle school. That's doing the
yes. He's
yeah.
the baby. He's the baby.
So yeah, but
Everybody else is grown.
okay, yeah, but that's cool. So you have a blended family of seven. Four. I'm sorry. You said how many girls?
Six girls and one boy,
So
and
he's
I
on.
have two grandsons.
Oh, and you're a grandmama. Oh
I'm a
goodness.
Mimi. I'm a Mimi.
Oh, I'm sorry, BB. I understand. Listen, and the fact that he's the only boy, how does that work out? With all
Oh,
the
oh
oh my
God, it's so different. It's so different. These boys are stanky, musty, and everything in between. Okay. Um, there are so many things. There are probably 150 things I wish somebody would have told me before having a son. But it is the greatest joy. There's nothing like a mother and son bond.
God.
We have a great relationship, and I love that we are able to create the way we do.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that we are creating memories because that's what we are doing. We're building legacy. And I want not only him, but you know, his children and his children's children to know who I am and who I was when I'm no longer here. I want to be able to leave that impression on this world that how people talk about Maya Angelou and people are still
Yes,
talking about
yes,
Maya Angelou and people are still talking about Dick Gregory and all these different individuals. That's how I want my legacy to be. I want it to be impactful. For me, it's not about making a whole lot of money and being, super rich as much as it is the impact that I make on the world.
yes. Well, you're definitely leaving your mark. You're definitely inspiring. I don't know about others, but I know myself. And just seeing, you being able to have those moments with your son, with your family, and share messages, for women, all people. I am definitely impacted by that. So that's why I was so happy to have you and to have your story. We're at that segment or that portion of the segment where I want to ask, this is Synoria's best kept secret. What are some best kept secrets of yours, or any just insight or gems that you might be able to share with the audience today?
It is not a secret if I tell you.
True.
Uh, so I would say, the thing that has carried me the most and that has guided me through my life is being my authentic self.
Yes, yes.
Always showing up as me, not dimming my light for anyone to make anyone feel taller. Uh,
Yes.
you know, being being confident in who I am and knowing who I am and knowing who God made me be
Yes.
unapologetically, not apologizing for this glow, not apologizing for this joy, not
Exactly.
apologizing for the happiness that I have in my heart. Uh, I think once you have joy, you'll have freedom. And I'm finally in a place in life where I can say that I am free and I can walk the walk, talk the talk, and do what I want to do and not have to ask anybody permission to do it.
Yes, ma'am. Authentically and unapologetically. I understand it. Yes, I love that. That's just a beautiful message all together, because it is something about not just women, but just anybody that's able to take a hold of who they truly are and just give it to the world. Because that's something I like to say is that, the world needs more light. So definitely shine yours bright.
Yeah, because it wasn't always like that, you
At
know?
all.
Yeah, so you live and you learn. You live and you
Exactly.
learn. There's a whole lot of things that I wish I would have known in my 30s that I know now that I believe would have carried me through those hard times of people pleasing and trying to be something that I wasn't, and trying to, like I said, dimming my light for others, dimming my light so others could be taller
Right.
in my story. And no, I ain't doing that no more, child.
No more. I know I'm there with you, because you can't please everybody. So that's something I always knew early on. But at the same time, if your light is keeping someone else from being who they should be, then that's on them, because you have to step into who you are. That's the whole purpose. We have to serve our purpose and
Our
not
purpose.
others' purpose. So
Yeah. And
yes,
then once your purpose is served, then you can help others.
to build
Uh,
theirs. Yeah.
my grandma used to always say, a friend to everyone is an enemy to self.
Mm, yes. Yes, that's look, grandma know what she was talking about. Yes. Now let me ask you, what's next for you? What do we have to look forward to seeing for you in the future?
Yeah, I'm just looking to continue to walk in God's purpose. I don't like snatching the pen while God's writing. My dreams are my dreams, but I know his are much bigger than mine. I know what he has planned for me is much bigger than mine. So I like to continue to inspire. I'd love to continue speaking globally on heart health, and I want to be that change maker. I want to be the person who leaves the imprint in the world, who was able to be humorous, also helpful, and yeah, that's what it is. Hopefully you'll see me on TV one day. I'm not gonna say hopefully you will see me on TV
There
one
you
day.
go. Put it out there. That's right. Stand.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
I love it. Well, you guys, you heard it here. Again, I want to thank you, ShantaQuilette, for joining us this evening. I look forward to seeing the many great things that you look to accomplish and endure and continue to inspire and impact us
yeah.
here. And I do want to thank you guys for tuning in again to Synoria's Best Kept Secret. And we'll see you next time. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share. See you. Mwah, mwah, mwah.